Okay, hello everyone, and in this video, we'll study about how to find the gradient of a line, a straight line. Okay, here is a straight line we can see, and this one is a y-axis here, this one is y-axis, and this one is x-axis. So this line is crossing at one y-axis. Okay, so if we have to find the equation of this line, how can we find the equation of this line? So the equation of a straight line is y is equal to mx plus c. So here the m is basically the gradient, right? So the gradient is m. It is the slope of a line, that how steep a line is, that is indicated by this gradient. If the gradient is more, the line will be more steep, and if the gradient is less, then the line will be less steep. So in this question, it says that find the gradient of these lines. So we need to find only this m. We are not concerned about C or any other y-intercept or C. We are only concerned about the gradient m. So how do we find m? So the m is basically m is equal to change in y-axis over change in x-axis. That how much this line is changing on the y-axis divided by how much this is changing on the x-axis, and this is sometimes called rise over run, like how much this line is rising and how much this line is running. Rise means it's increasing on y-axis, and run means it's increase on the x-axis. So for this, first you have to take any 2 points on this line where the grid lines cross each other, right? So you have to look for a point where grid lines cross each other, right? So this is the first step. So let's take this one as a point where the grid lines cross each other, and then look for the next point again where these grid lines cross each other. At this point again, the grid lines cross each other, and the line is passing through this intersection, the intersection of grid lines. So here we have selected 2 points, and there is no point in between. So we have selected just 2 points where the line is crossing two intersection points of this grid. So now you have to look that how much this line is rising on the y-axis, how much there is a change on the y-axis. So this is a change on the y-axis, right? So we count the squares, 1, 2, 3. So 3 is the count on the y-axis, and then how many squares it's changing on the x-axis. So 2 is the change on the x-axis. So the m, or the gradient, the slope of the line, is change in y-axis over change in x-axis. So the change in y-axis is 3, m is equal to 3 over change in x-axis is 2, right? So it does not matter whether you take the distance from this point to this point. You can take the distance from the next intersection point. These 2 points, it's again, you see, from this point it's again 3 here, again 2 here, right? So it will always be like this. So wherever you will go, well, wherever you will check, it will be 2, and then here you see it's 3. So always the gradient will be the same. And in the second question, we can see that the line is crossing this point, and again on this line we see this point, right? So in that the formula remains same. M is equal to change in y over change in x-axis. So on the y-axis it is just 1, and on the x-axis you can see 1, 2, 3, 4. There are 4, right? So we can write m is equal to 1 over 4, right? So here the 1 over 4, this one is, you see it's a smaller. 1 by 4 means 0.25, right? So it is 0.25, and here this one is 1.5. So you see this is 1.5, this line has a gradient, and this line has a gradient of 0.25. So the line with the bigger gradient, with the higher gradient, will be steeper. The line with the less gradient will be always a smooth line, less steep line. Now we check a negative line here. Let's take about this line and what is the gradient of this line. So for this line, let's select any point. This point here, this point, the line is crossing two intersection points, and then again it's crossing at this point. So here when we say the change in y-axis is negative, because you see the y-axis it's down, and then on the here it's positive. So the x-axis 1, 2, 3 is positive, whereas the y-axis it is negative. So this is -2, because you see here it is 5. At this point it is 5 here, and at this point it is 3. So from 5 it's coming down to 3. That means the y-axis is coming down, and then the x-axis it's increasing. On this point, if you take the x-axis was 1 here, and now at this point the x-axis is 4. So the x-axis has gone from 1 to 4, whereas the y-axis has decreased from 5 to 3. In the same way, if you want to see for the next 2 points, again you see on the y-axis it has increased again -2 points. Previously it was here at 3, and from 3 it has come down to this point, and you see it's 1. So again from 3 it has come to 1 y-axis, and on the x-axis you see 1, 2. So 2 squares it has increased. On the x-axis previously it was 4 here, so from 4 it has gone to again 7. So 1, 2, 3. 3 here it has increased. So wherever you will find, it will be the same. So m gradient of this line will be -2 over 3, because we write y first. It is change in y over delta x. That means change in x. So this is -2 over 3 is the gradient of this line. Similarly, you can solve these all questions in the same way. And the question number 4 says that draw lines with the following gradient. So the line has been given to you, the gradient has been given to you here, right? For example, if you take this as a gradient, question A, 2 whole 1 by 2. So you have to make this improper fraction into, you have to make this is a mixed number. It has a whole number and it has a fraction. So convert this into improper fraction. So we convert this improper fraction by multiplying 2 2s are 4 plus 1 5, 5 over 2. So m is 5 over 2. Now, so we have to draw a line which has a change in y-axis is 5 over change in x-axis is 2. So the we can do the y-intercept anywhere, because they are not bothered about, they did not ask that the line crosses y at what place. So let's start from 0 here. Okay, this is an intersection point. From here 5 on the y-axis up, so 1 2 3 4 5, and on the x-axis it is 2 1 2. So this is our next point. Okay, so 1 2 3. If again for the next 5 we go, then it goes outside this graph. 1 2 3 4 5, roughly it should go there, and then 2 1 2, it should come here somewhere, right? So you can just, first these two are confirmed, you can just match these lines and it will straight away go down. So this is a line in which the gradient is 2 whole 1 by 2 or 5 by 2, you can call this the line. So this is how you draw or sketch a line from a given gradient. So these all are similar questions. Okay, so in this question, find the gradient of each line shown below. So now we have to find a gradient when we have been given coordinates of a line. So the coordinates of a line are x and y. Okay, so this one 4 is x and 11 is y here, and in this point of A, the coordinates are x and y here. So 1 is x and y is 5. So this is, you can call it x1 and y1 and x2 and y2. So these are 2 points given in this line. When the two coordinates are given, how can you find the gradient of a line? So there is a formula. The gradient is basically how much the line changes on the x-axis, right? And how much the line is changing on the y-axis. So y-axis change in y-axis divided by change in x-axis, that should be the gradient. But we do have a formula as well, and when we have these type of gradients already given, so the formula is m is equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So just the coordinates of both of these, if we put there, we can find the values of x and y, the m, the change in y, right? So this is y2 is 11 and y1 is 5 here. So 11 minus 5 divided by 4 minus 1. 4 minus 1. So this gives us 11 minus 5, 6 over 3, and this gives us 2 over 1, or it's just 2. So 2 is the gradient, or 2 over 1 is the gradient. So that means on y-axis it is changing 2, on x-axis it is changing just 1. So this is the gradient of this line. So in the same way, if you have to find in this one, let's term these ones x2 and y2, and these 2 points x1 and y1. So the formula is equal to y2 minus y1. So this one is y2, 8 is y2, minus y1 is 0, divided by x2 is 6, minus x1 is 4. So 8 minus 0 is 8, divided by 6 minus 4 is 2. So this gives us 2 fours are 8, 4 over 1, or simply 4. This shows that on the y-axis, this line, on the y-axis this is 4, on the x-axis this is just 1. Okay, because the m is change in y-axis over change in x-axis. So you can solve all these questions with the same strategy. And in this type of negative line also, it does not matter. You can solve in the same way. So here you can term these x1, y1, and you can term them x2, y2. So it does not really matter whether you call a out of a and b which one x1 and which one x2. Your final there will be no impact on your answer. So first m is equal to y2. So y2 is minus 6 minus y2 minus y1 is 8. Minus 8 minus 6 minus 8 divided by x2 is minus 4 and minus 3. Okay, so this will be minus 8 and minus 6 will be minus 14 divided by minus minus is plus. So minus 4 plus 3, it should give you the answer of minus 1. And when there are two minuses, so they become plus. So that gives you 14 over 1. So in this line, the gradient is, yeah, so the gradient is 14 over 1. So on this line, the y-axis is, it should give a negative gradient. But why does it gives a positive gradient? That is a question, but still minus 6 minus minus 8 and minus 4. Yes, this is the mistake which we have done. That's what I was telling, that why it should not, the line is negative, so it should have given us a negative gradient. It's plus 4. You see why x2 is plus 4 minus minus. So this should give us plus minus minus plus. So this should give us minus 14 over uh, 4 plus 3, right? So minus 14 over 4 plus 3 is 7 plus 7. So this is how, let me write it again. So it should be y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So y2 is minus 6 and minus x1 is 8 over x2 is 4 minus and inside minus 3. So this gives us minus 14 over 4 minus minus is plus, so 4 plus 3 is 7, right? So m is this one. So on the y-axis, this one is minus 14 and on the x-axis it is 7. So if you draw just a number line here, right? So it's 0 here and minus 1, minus 2, minus 3, minus 4, minus 5, minus 6, right? And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So from this point, y2 is from 8, it's coming y-axis from 8 to minus 6. So from 8 it's coming to changing minus 6, right? So if you count these numbers 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 12 13 14, right? So there are 14 numbers. So this gives you minus 6 minus 8, this gives you 14 numbers. In the same way, on the y-axis, you see previously it was at minus 3, right? So from minus 3, it has changed to plus 4, right? So now you can count here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 7 numbers are here. So this is how the change in x-axis and change in y-axis is measured. So work out the gradient of the line passing through these pairs of points. So the pairs of points have already been given, these one. So you can, using the same formula, calling it x1 y1 and x2 y2, then you can find m is equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. For all these points you can already do. And this is there are some application questions, and these are Alicia says that the gradient of the line is 2. Explain her mistake. So the gradient of the line is 2. So the gradient of the line should be negative 2, because here the point is, because the y-axis has dropped from 3 to minus 3, right? So this is minus 3. The gradient of the line has dropped from 3 to minus 3, so it should be minus 6. And then on the x-axis it has increased 1 2 3, positive 3, right? So previously it was at minus 1, so from minus 1 it has increased to 2. So 3 points on the x-axis positive. So the mistake is that it should be not 2, it should be minus 2, because m is change in the y-axis over change over x-axis. So change over y-axis is minus 6 and change over y-axis is 3. So this gives you minus 2. And so in the same way you can see, you can take any of the 2 points. Even if you take this point and this point, it still stays the same. You see, from this point to this point it's minus 2, and from this point to this point it's a 1. So if you take then again this point to this point, it's same, this point to this point. So any 2 points on this line, if you calculate, the gradient should be same. Find gradient of the line passing through the points. So these are the points here. We have got just the unknown variables. Like, so here we can find y2 minus y1. So y2 is this one, 5a, minus y1 is minus a divided by x2 is 6a, minus x1 is 4a. So you can solve this equation. Minus minus is plus. 5a plus 1a is 6a, divided by 6a minus 4a is 2a, right? So here a and a cancel out. 2 ones are 2, 2 threes are 6. So the gradient is 3. So this is how you can find these ones. The line passing through this and then has a gradient of this one. The line passing through and has a gradient of this one. Okay, so find h. So if there is an unknown variable which you have to find, so this is how you can find. It says the gradient of 4 in the same formula, m is equal to y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. So the gradient is m is 4, 4 is equal to y2 is h minus 9 is here, x2 and y2, x1 and y1, divided by minus 2 is x2, and minus minus 8, minus 8. So this is how you can find further. If you solve this, you can find the value of h. H is the only unknown, all other numbers are known. So in the same way, you can find the value of m when gradient is given and 2 points are given. And so all these questions are similar. Here you have to find m when you have been given 2 points and a gradient. The line passing through these 2 points and gradient of 0.75, and find the p. Same way, find the equation of the line below. So if you have been asked to find the equation of a line, so equation of a line is y is equal to mx plus c, right? So c is the y-intercept. This one is the y-intercept. Y-intercept means at what point this line is crossing y-axis. So we see this line is crossing at the point of 50. And m we can calculate here. Here you can see this is 50, this is 100, 150. Here is representing 1 square is representing 5 points. Okay, so on this line, if you see where this 10 is crossing here, this point, let's select this point. On this point, on the horizontal axis, it is 10, and on the vertical axis, we can see this one is here. Okay, so this point, and just 1 square above, so that means 6 squares. So from 100 to, if one point is 1 square is 5 points, then 6 square means 30 points. So that means 130 is here, and here it's, we already know it's 10, right? So now we can find the equation of a line. So the m is equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So here of this point we already know that the y-axis is 50 and x-axis is 0. It's a 0 here on the x-axis. Okay, so the point here is 0 and 50, and the point here on the x-axis it is 10, and on the y-axis it is 130. So it took us a little more time because this line is not very clearly cutting these points, because we need these points. So y2 is 130 minus y1 is 50 divided by x2 is 10 minus 0. So this gives us 0 and 8. 80 by 10, and this gives us 8. So the m is 8. So in this, the y-intercept is 50. So this equation will be y is equal to m is 8. We have found 8x plus 50. This will be the equation of this line.